Magic mushrooms. Not the funny ones from fairy tales or the type we associate with silly little gnomes. We're talking psilocybin, drugs even. But what we really are trying to understand is what is underneath the cap of that there magic mushroom. Ancient history records mushroom consumption from across the globe, but with many particular artifacts of the ancient world coming primarily from Mesoamerica, where many different cultures such as the Aztec, Maya, and the Olmec are reported to have made mushrooms and mushroom consumption a cultural and ceremonious process. This is all fine and dandy, but it wasn't until 1938 when Albert Hofmann was working with ergo fungus and accidentally created LSD as a result. His decision to later resynthesize LSD in 1943 consequentially led to him testing it on himself and led to the first recorded acid trip in history. As a result, this would lead to more research into psychedelic drugs as a whole, with the researching of magic mushrooms following suit. More interestingly, they can cause euphoria, visual and mental hallucinations, a change in someone's perception, a distortion of someone's sense of time, and perceived spiritual experiences, as well as negatively nausea and panic attacks. Many people describe a certain type of sensory overload or the ability to see sounds and hear colors, strangely enough. This is due to the effects of the psilocybin on the communication across someone's brain network and the increasing amount of certain neurotransmitters on certain pathways and the decline of certain neurotransmitters on other pathways in someone's head. This leads to certain areas of someone's brain becoming more pronounced and the communication in other parts of that person's brain becoming more muted. And some people who have taken mushrooms say that they can help relieve severe anxiety and depression with the mushroom's effect on certain neural pathways, providing intense relief to people who are very high strung. As previously stated, in ancient times and still to a small degree today, magic mushrooms are used for ceremonious or religious purposes in certain cultures. Medicinally speaking, psilocybin has the potential to treat a range of psychiatric and behavioral disorders. There have been certain FDA approved researched tests for psilocybin treating depression, as well as being able to help treat substance abuse disorders like alcohol or cocaine, and the ability to also help eliminate certain addictive neural pathways in someone's head and helping relieve existential anxiety and, for example, people who are facing the advanced stages of cancer. Also, mushrooms are taken recreationally, albeit it is very much illegal to take recreational mushrooms in the United States. Now, luckily for us, we got an expert to consult with me on this matter of mushroom consumption. Just in advance, apologies for the audio on the interview. I was using my webcam mic, and I did not know that until after the interview was done.
So we're here today with the esteemed PradaMage. My name's Troy. It's a pleasure to meet you. Um,
Thank you. Thank
I,
you.
I needed to ask you, Mr. PradaMage, since you are uh, a former recreational mushroom user, correct? That I need to ask you, what made you start doing magic mushrooms?
Well, you see, I was at a party with a couple of bros, and it was over the summer, and we decided to have a goofy little time
Okay.
and take some freaking Joe Rogan things, some Joe Rogan shrooms.
Joe Rogan mushrooms. Are these any different than any other particular strand or type of mushroom?
No, we just called them that because it
Okay.
was funny.
Spectacular. All right. Well, that's wonderful. But I have another question for you, Mr. PradaMage. I needed to ask you, what is the silliest and or your absolute favorite name for a strand of mushroom, other than maybe perhaps the Joe Rogan, as you've explained to us?
Well, there's this one silly little goofy strain name, and it is a very potent strain. It refers to some may call it the P word strain.
The P word.
The P word, it refers to the male genitalia. The P word envy strain, very strong strain, very very not for the faint of heart. Definitely
Could
not for
you
the
could
faint of
you
heart.
explain why the name?
Well, you see, because of the the way they are shaped,
Okay.
I have taken some of those, yes.
Um, Another wonderful question we mean to ask you is uh, how and what particular way do you ingest or intake mushrooms, Mr. Mage?
So personally, I like orange juice because orange juice is just dummy goaded, and I think the other drinks are just not goaded. I mean, some people they lemon tech it. They'll put yeah, like they'll put the shrooms in lemon juice. It will like get all the stuff in there. It will hit you way
Intensify
harder.
the
But
experience.
it's so nasty. The texture's nasty. It tastes nasty. If you try, I mean, you can just buy lemon juice now at the store. You just drink that, see how good it tastes. I don't know. Not my personal favorite. I think orange juice is yummy. I think it's goaded,
Okay.
and that's why I always typically take it with orange juice.
Orange juice. All right. That's wonderful. Now we have one final question for you, Mr. Mage. Um, uh, are gnomes real?
Magic mushrooms are a Class A drug by the DEA, or the Drug Enforcement Administration, where the DEA tells us they have a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use. Mushrooms are compared to other Class A drugs such as LSD, PCP, and peyote as a result. Since shrooms cannot be bought by any legal means in the good old USA, distribution, manufacturing, and trafficking, or any other type of interaction is a crime that leads to prosecution in every state. The amount of mushrooms possessed in the criminal history of the possessee in question is what determines that person's sentence. First time offenders typically get a $1,000 minimum fine and a year in jail, with penalties rising after each conviction and varying depending on the type of crime being committed. For example, a trafficking crime being more severe than a possession crime. Despite your initial dosage, taking magic mushrooms will be a fairly strong experience the first time around. Typically, what happens afterward is you may need to double your dosage to feel the same feeling you took on your initial first trip. Some people may even need more than double their initial dosage once they have metabolized the psilocybin and the mushrooms are more tolerated in their body. Abstaining for a month typically makes it so the psilocybin leaves your body and your tolerance goes down drastically, which will lead to a stronger trip. Doubling the volume of the dosage, however, means your body must also process more of the drug throughout your body, potentially harming your body more physically, but not always leading to a stronger hallucinogenic trip. This leads to a larger tolerance over time to psilocybin, but there is no current evidence that someone that consumes mushrooms can develop a physical dependence to them. Despite the DEA's classification, there is also little evidence that it is a major drug of abuse, like alcohol, for example, and there are no recorded fatalities of overdosing on psilocybin alone. However, when paired in conjunction with another drug or a drug of abuse like cocaine or alcohol, it can be very dangerous to treat if that person is also on psilocybin. Like anything, moderation is very much key, and the abuse of anything, including magic mushrooms, is still very much entirely possible. There is a low chance of you getting dependent on mushrooms if you do take them. So, while there is no real addictive property to magic mushrooms and only a mental dependency, people who have more addictive personalities or are more predisposed to addiction may get addicted or more addicted to mushrooms than the average person. Treatments. As for treatments, rehabilitation can be court appointed and may even dismiss certain charges of the person who possessed the mushrooms um, if they cooperate with rehab. Benzodiazepines are a common trip killer. When ingested in conjunction with psilocybin, they will typically minimize the effects of the hallucinogenic trips as well as eliminating most of the psilocybin's effects after a period of time. However, mushrooms typically leave your body very much naturally. I'd just like to say thank you for watching my brochure. This was great. I should do it again sometime.